Welcome everyone to a very special evening for all of us here. Um, Today we have linked up with our good friends from Chicago Disability Pride Parade. Chicago Disability Pride Parade were the first original Disability Pride Parade in America. They held the very first one back in 2004, and they've inspired us and people all over the world to continue in that tradition. And that's what's brought us here today is Disability Power Ireland, the seed that they've planted in many ways. So we're very lucky and very honored to have two representatives from from Chicago Disability Pride today, Bill Thomason and Justin Cooper, and it's 2 p.m. over there now, I think.
Yes.
They're they're joining us from overseas. um, we'll just start with I have a very quick presentation, a very basic overview of Disability Pride, and then Bill will give us a chat about the history of Chicago Disability Pride Parade and how they got started, because I believe, Bill, you were there right from the beginning.
Yeah, to some extent, yes. I marched in the first parade.
Amazing. And Justin, you came on a little bit later, but you're one of the main people organizing it now for the last few years.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, it is.
Yes. Well, it's a real pleasure for us to have you today with us. So we'll start a very quick basic overview for anyone who's maybe unsure of what disability pride means. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are confused about what disability power means, which is a sort of a new concept that we've maybe fleshed out a little bit more to evolve the original idea of pride for this modern era. So I'm going to quickly share the screen. Okay, can everyone see this here?
Yep.
Okay, so this is just the introduction. It shows the Disability Pride flag in the background with all of the 6 different colors. And the title reads, Chicago Disability Pride Parade and DPI present What is Disability Pride and Power? A History of the Disability Pride Movement. And that's just the time underneath. So this is the poster that we shared earlier. And then this slide also shows the Pride flag with the 6 different colors. This is the new Disability Pride flag from 2021. And this says, what is Disability Pride and Power? A brief introduction with the Disability Power Ireland logo in the corner. So this may be familiar, I'm sure, to Bill and Justin. This is an image of the Capitol Crawl March on March the 13th, 1990. So this is where Disability Pride really began, I would think. And Bill, you can correct me later on with this, but it seems to be one of the radical protests that sparked a movement here. This is when over 1,000 disabled people marched from the White House to Capitol Hill and jumped out of their wheelchairs and started crawling up the hill, up the steps of Capitol Hill, which was a very powerful display and protest. And shortly after this, the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed, largely due to this sort of momentum and grassroots power. Disability Pride Day was first celebrated in Boston in 1990, following the passing of the Act on July the 26th. And then the first Disability Pride Parade was held by Chicago in 2004. And over here, we have some images of the Disability Pride flag. The Disability Pride flag on the right shows the original one from 2019. This was designed by Anne McGill. Now I've got it here in a transparent way, because the problem that people have had with this flag is that it triggers migraines and people with epileptic conditions. So the flag had to be altered in 2021 to the flag that you see on the left. And that is the new flag that we have started to use now in all of our social media channels. Now, just to describe the flag, let me know actually if anybody has any problems viewing the flag on the right, and I can switch to the next slide. Okay, looks like we're okay to show this for the moment. So the 5 colors of the Disability Pride flag originally represented blue for mental illness and psychiatric conditions, yellow for intellectual disability and neurodiversity, white for invisible and undiagnosed disabilities, red for physical disabilities, and green for sensory disabilities. The parallel stripes represented solidarity within the disabled community despite differences. And the black field of mourning is the background there. And that is representing all the disabled lives who've been lost to violence, eugenics, and other systemic conditions. It also can be seen in the new flag to represent light cutting through the darkness. The flag cuts through the darkness. Our pride cuts through all of that. The lightning shape that was originally used in the Anne McGill flag represents creativity in navigating social barriers. That's the creativity and the resilience that we have as disabled people facing obstacles every day. And that's exactly the creativity and resilience that we celebrate with Disability Pride and with this festival, with our parades. That's what we're celebrating. And I'm just going to flip to an image of the 2021 flag. So again, the parallel stripes here represent solidarity within the community, and we have the diagonal cutting across barriers. Now, I've taken down from you guys' websites, I don't know if you were going to already talk about this, and you guys can talk about this again if you like, but this is on the Chicago Disability Pride Parade mission statement. This is from your website. So if you don't mind, I will just quickly tell people that your mission for your parade is to change the way people think about and define disability, to break down and end the internalized shame among people with disabilities, and to promote the belief in society that disability is a natural and beautiful part of human diversity in which people living with disabilities can take pride. So I thought I put that here because I thought that was a beautiful encapsulation of what Disability Pride means, and it just summarized very well. I'll now just quickly say why we went with Disability Power Ireland instead of Disability Pride Ireland, because that was the original name for our group. We had that up for about a year, Disability Pride Ireland, and you'll see the website is disabilitypride.ie. And that is what we are celebrating. That's what we intend to do. But there was a lot of confusion with people now because 20 years later from when all of this started, LGBT Pride has become a very powerhouse brand name that everyone associates with LGBTQIA+ identities. And although we celebrate LGBT disabled people within our community, we wanted people to make sure that they understood that this wasn't just for LGBT disabled people, but for all disabled people. And we wanted to also differentiate it a little bit from that movement because in a sense, LGBT Pride has also recently, in some of the mainstream parades, been taken over in a way that's been somewhat tokenistic. And we wanted to avoid that here when this came to Ireland. We didn't want people putting up the Disability Pride flag everywhere, but not actually doing anything to change the systemic barriers. It's very easy for companies to say that, we support Disability Pride. I think McDonald's has sometimes done that, but they're not addressing, the systemic changes that they need to be truly disabled friendly and to have truly disabled friendly workspaces. So we wanted to emphasize that what we were trying to do here is to restore a collective grassroots power in Ireland, which is something that we think has been missing lately in Ireland. We have a lot of, say, service providers and charities and NGOs that don't hire disabled people, that speak for us without actually listening to us, that don't value our lived experience, that promote the medical model, the charity model of disability. And these are things that we wanted to challenge, and we wanted to make sure that this was being challenged in the way that we held the parade from the beginning. So when we have our parade next year, we will have mainly DPOs will be doing it as a coalition. We won't, hopefully we will figure out how, but it will be DPOs at the center and disabled people at the center, but also making a space for allies. And maybe that's something we can talk about with you guys later, Bill and Justin, and how you also bring on allies and how you make that space for both without alienating one or the other. And this is also just a quick elaboration on what Disability Pride means, and what we see the Disability Pride celebration as. For us and for you, I'm sure, this is a chance to make disabled people visible on the streets and in the media, and restore our collective grassroots power. It's a powerful way to change public perception of what it means to be disabled, in line with the social and affirmation models of disability. We don't need to talk too much about the affirmation model of disability. It just takes the social model a little bit further and develops positive identities. But we don't need to talk about that too much today. I think everyone here is pretty much aware of what the social model means, and that's that disability is caused by, more so by social barriers than by the physical impairments themselves. We also see Pride as nourishing our culture as a disabled community, developing that through art and through community, and having events like this where we share ideas, where we feel a sense of connection with each other, and we grow that sense of pride in our identity together. We also see Pride as a way to expand the traditional definitions of disability, which is the traditional logo of the wheelchair user. I'm a wheelchair user. I don't like, it's also a very popular, very common form of disability, but there are many other kinds of disabilities that have traditionally not been incorporated into the disability rights movement, or people who are hesitant about whether or not they can identify as disabled. These marginalized identities include people with psychiatric disorders, or people with intellectual disabilities have often been left out of the movement and spoken for by other people, instead of being allowed to given the space to speak for themselves. And it also includes many people living with invisible disabilities, such as chronic pain. And the reason we want to, and we feel it's very important to expand this definition of disability, is that we believe the sooner disabled people feel able to identify as disabled, the sooner we finish that journey that we all took to rid our own internalized shame that we had associated with being disabled, the sooner we come to join the disabled community and learn about the wider collective movement for our rights. So that is how we grow the disability rights movement, and how we get stronger. The more people who are not afraid then to identify as disabled and learn. I'm one of the many people that came to identify and be proudly identified as disabled and enter these spaces very late in life. I only started joining disabled spaces really in my 20s. And there were some that I joined when I was younger, but it was only when I came to join these spaces now as an adult that, you know, we all became educated about the disability rights movement and the wider issues. So as the sooner that we break down those barriers to people being afraid to identify as disabled, having that internalized stigma that says, I should not present myself as disabled, that I need to prove myself as, you know, a person first, or all of those kind of things. And again, we don't want to police anyone's identity, or to, you know, tell anyone how they should feel about being disabled. There are no right or wrong ways. So finally, here is a quote that I think kind of sums that up. It's a bit long, but it's worth it. This quote says, it's from Britt and Heiss, who are two academics, and this quote is from 2000. It says, identifying the proud disabled person does not, however, involve a denial of the physical pain or fatigue that impairment may cause. We're not trying to sugarcoat disability here. We're not trying to deny that it's a difficult experience, especially for people who have acquired impairments, and that it's a long journey to get to the place where we can feel proud of who we are. To say I am disabled is not to say I have an impairment, but it is to make a statement about the situation of people with impairments in a disabling society. Furthermore, to say I am disabled collectively with other disabled people as an expression of anger turns this into a statement of pride. By modifying the frame from one of innate deviance to one of oppression, so not from within, but from without, individuals may come to feel angry not only because the system is unjust, but because they have been made to feel ashamed. The activated feeling of anger propels stigmatized individuals into public space to behave collectively, and feelings of pride emerge. So that's it. That's a basic overview. And it just highlighted a bit of the role of, you know, some of the mixed feelings that people may have about being disabled, but that it's still a part of who we are. It's something worth celebrating. This is a beautiful community, and I am very proud to be here, and I'm very proud to introduce you to our next guests. Our first guest here is Bill Thomason. So Bill was here, as we said earlier, he was one of the people who was there at the very first Disability Pride Parade, which was held by Chicago in 2004. And he's going to tell us a bit about the journey that they have all made, what it was like setting it up right from the beginning. Over to you, Bill.
Okay, great. Yes, I would like to thank you for presenting the parade's mission statement, which I would otherwise have done. And I do want to say that just personally, it sounds to me like a lot like what we hear from a different group. We are here. Get used to it. Yes, but I will go on to talk about the history and organization of the Chicago Parade. As you say, it goes back to 2004. Sarah Traiano won essentially a grant for her activism, and she chose to use that as the seed money for the parade. The first parade was held in a relatively small park that we call the museum campus, because the Field Museum of Natural History faces the park from the north side, and the Adler Planetarium and Shedd Aquarium face it from the east side. But we actually only marched a few hundred yards within the I'm sorry that I'm stammering. Something that I suppose happens to some of us older people, and I should perhaps comment that I'm not clear whether simply being 85 years old is in itself an aspect of disability. I have always resented people who say, "Oh, I'm not disabled. I'm just old." But yeah, maybe being old in this sense is another aspect of disability. But anyway, to get back to what I was saying, we only marched a few hundred yards through the park, not on an actual street, and then there were talks afterward. I had initially planned to march in the parade as part of a contingent supporting a Senate candidate named Barack Obama. But I take it that even in Ireland you recognize that name. But he canceled his participation. I strongly suspect because he felt not enough people had signed up to make an impressive showing. So I marched with a congressional candidate named Christine Segalis. And that first time there was just me and Christine and two of her staffers. It was all together. It was definitely a small parade, a small group and a small parade. The next year was much bigger. We were on a major South Side street, ending with the presentations in Union Park. The Segalis campaign had 20 people involved. Both the group and the parade were much bigger this year. We were clearly growing. And because I was the contact person for the campaign's participation, I was invited to become part of the parade planning committee, which I did. So ever since 2006, I have been part of the planning committee. And the 2006 then was the year that we became a parade in Chicago's Loop. We ever since then, we have marched roughly a half mile up Dearborn Street, ending at Daley Plaza, which is the open space immediately adjacent to City Hall. Now, Dearborn Street is not, in our opinion, the ideal place. It's a block west of State Street, which is, of course, the big commercial street. Dearborn is essentially office buildings. Not too many people are just there on a Saturday morning to see us pass, unless they are specifically coming to watch the parade. So, but we have for the past several years, we've been trying to get to State Street, and we have never been successful. What we are hearing now is that the city really does not want people to be on State Street, because closing it is just too much of a problem. But anyway, the point is that the pardon me, I'm being distracted by a voicemail on my phone, but yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now I can come back. And I was saying that at Daley Plaza, we have always had presentations, entertainment to keep people entertained for a couple of hours. And we also, and this I think is important, our sponsors have tables there where they can present their information about who they are, what they do, what is available through them. Tables for these presentations. And that is one of the big things where that gives us the money to support putting on the parade. Now that has essentially been the situation since 2006, except of course for 2020 and 2021, the pandemic forced us virtual. But aside from that, that's the way things have been. Sometimes we have more money and more entertainment, and sometimes less. That comes and goes from year to year. But basically, that's the way things. That's the way things have been going. Now, I want to talk about the parade's organization. In the early days, it was essentially just First, let me say we are a 100% volunteer organization. No paid officers, and in fact, if I remember correctly, our bylaws specifically forbid that. In the early days, it was just people basically coming together and making decisions. We got our we got our donations through an affiliated organization is not the right term, through another organization which had what in the U.S. we call it a 501c3 designation as a charitable organization, meaning that it could receive tax-deductible donations. At some point, this may have been around 2010 or perhaps a little earlier. We incorporated ourselves as a nonprofit organization and became ourselves a charitable organization that can accept donations. And this, of course, is when we adopted our bylaws. Now, the bylaws essentially give power to a 3 to 7 person board of directors that is self-perpetuating. But I personally insisted that the powers of the board were limited to finance. Every other decision is still made by all the volunteer people coming together as a committee. And is there anything more that I need to say about that? I'm not sure I can think of anything other than that. It's a lot of work putting on a parade. In many instances, there has been one person who basically took on most of the work. In the early days, it tended to be Dan Van Heck, who, as it happened, died of a heart attack on his way to a committee meeting. What happened? We reorganized, we carried on. And there have been, since then, there have been other people who have been the main person and have had to step aside for one reason or another. The person who has been our mainstay for recent years, this year had family responsibilities that made him roughly inactive, and we carried on. So it's all volunteer system works. It does, and we're the proof of that. And I think that's basically what I have to say.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Bill. That was wonderful to hear about how you all got started. And we'll ask you some more questions there at the end too. Thank you, Bill.
Of course, yes.
And our next guest now is Justin Cooper, who's also on the Disability Pride Committee. Welcome, and he's a visual artist also from Chicago. Welcome, Justin Cooper.
All right, thank you all. Thank you all so much for inviting myself and Bill to be a part of this and be just really part of this wonderful celebration. So thank you for that. And so my role currently in the Disability Pride Parade is I have taken most of the main responsibilities, as Bill mentioned, for the parade. I act as the parade's head marshal. So that means like the day of the parade, I make sure that all our groups who are marching in the parade, that they are like in the right spots, and making sure that the parade is moving smoothly. It's a lot of, like as Bill mentioned, it's a hard process, but we are a volunteer-based organization, and we are in our 19th. This is our 19th Disability Pride Parade, and it's the longest running Disability Pride Parade in the country. I have to say that, I'm obligated to say that. So it is the longest running parade in Disability Pride Parade in the country. And like I said, it's just all thanks to the work of all of our volunteers and, everyone who is on the committee in like every year dedicating, you know, hours of their time to put this together. And so, pretty much my main role is just making sure the parade runs smoothly. And as long as I'm not being seen the day of and everybody is having a good time, then my work has been success. It's a success for me. And the thing I love about this parade, and I actually joined the committee. I went to my first Disability Pride Parade actually in 2014 and wound up joining the committee the following year. And one of the things I think you had mentioned is that for me, there was sort of an internalized, shame for me. Like it really didn't take until my 30s, to realize that, there were other disabled folks who looked like me that were just doing awesome things. And that took nearly a decade for me to be like, oh well, I seeing all these other people just do amazing work was just like it's just something that for me I was just like, oh okay, I belong. And being in this setting with the parade is just such a fun experience. We've had over the years some really awesome grand marshals. We had one local artist who was a dancer and who was a part of the parade. At one point, we had a former U.S. senator who was actually a part of who was our grand marshal for the parade. And let me just say this: it's like everybody is like having a good time. They're like, we're having music, we're dancing down the street. It's just like so much, just so much fun for for people to be a part of and for people to witness. As Bill mentioned, we don't get as much coverage going down Dearborn as it is just mostly on office buildings. But for those who come out, they are just like they're just having fun. And we do have like our post parade festivities where people get to interact with each other. Some members of the community oftentimes don't get to see each other because we live in different parts of the state. But this is a day when we have the parade. This is a day for everybody to catch up. And for me, like seeing I always like see a lot of my friends that I haven't seen like almost through the entire year. And now with coming back in person, I haven't seen a lot of these folks since the pandemic. So it's been almost 2 to 3 years since I've last seen them. And so they've always asked me, okay, when are we going to be in person again? When are we going to be in person? And I didn't really have an answer for them because we were like dealing with the pandemic. And but people wanted to be a part of the parade again. And so I am like really thrilled and excited, that we're having our parade in a couple of days, because that means that the excitement is back. And people are like wanting to really be a part of the parade, and wanting to like showcase their disability pride. And I think that's one of the main things that we want to highlight and focus in our parade. And even with all of our folks marching in the parade, it's just showcasing the showcasing their pride. And that's something that I think matters to a lot of us within the committee. It's something that is very important to me as a disabled person. And just really overall just seeing the joy of disabled people and seeing us visible out there. And oftentimes society even here in the US often tries to shun people with disabilities, and make us try to like really put us in a bad situation. But man, just seeing a lot of folks and their enthusiasm for the parade, that's what I thrive off of, just like seeing our energy and just being, seeing what we do as people. And so, yeah, I am just like, I know Bill, explained like the history of the parade perfectly. But we are now, after this parade, we will be celebrating our 20th Disability Pride Parade next year. So yeah, that's going to be like an even bigger, like it's going to be really big, for the community. So yeah, we are excited for our parade, in a couple of days, and we're excited for you all to have your parade in next year. So yeah, like as long as we are visible, hey, we can we can do whatever the hell we want and have fun, and that's all that matters because we need to be visible. We need to be included, and so you having these parades highlights that and shows future generations of disabled folks that disability pride is strong, and as long as you have it, you can achieve and you can do whatever you want in this world. And so, yeah, that's what I really wanted to say and to really, point out, for what we do with our parade. So yeah, thank you all so much for like letting us have that time.
That was brilliant, Justin. Thank you so much. I'm thinking, listening to you, we might not have a parade. We might just hop on a plane and join your parade next year.
Yes.
We'll,
Yes.
we'll,
Actually, at one point, we had a group from Norway.
amazing. Yeah, fantastic. I mean,
Yes.
that's one of the most exciting things for all of us so far has been like linking in with you and linking just this being a global movement is so exciting. And you guys were there from the very beginning, personally, and I just want to personally thank you for your immense support to people overseas that you had no obligation to be so kind and welcoming to. And because of that, now this is all happening. So thank you so much to all of you. And just to follow on some of what you were saying, Justin, it sounded like, was this parade your first experience of being in a disabled community?
Actually, yes. And it was really like my first interaction, in the disabled community because I like growing up, I didn't know a lot of disabled people who looked like me. And also like it goes back to like that internalized shame. There is a Center for Independent Living that I live nearby called Access Living. And they've been around for over 40 years. And since I lived near them for a long time, I passed by their building in my wheelchair because I felt like that wasn't for me until I like physically got into the building and interacted with folks in the community and seeing like so many like badass people, from that disability community who have been like activists for decades and just like really putting in the labor and putting in the work. And then coming to my first Disability Pride Parade, I was just like, I was in awe because I was like, whoa, what is this? And see all of these different groups and people just like having a good time. It was a legit culture shock for me. And knowing that we had this, and now that I have been an active member of this committee since 2015, yeah, it's something that yeah, I never forget, my first experience, being a part of the Disability Pride Parade.
Oh, amazing. That's something we were talking about the other day as well. For many people, this is like the first time we've thought about or experienced the concept of disabled joy, and which you mentioned earlier, and celebration. It's something that's not it's not what we associate with being disabled, and it's really powerful when you get to experience it. So what you're doing and all of these things are very powerful, even though people might say, oh, this isn't, hammering down our rights, but this is life-changing as well. And Bill, would you say also that the parade was your first experience of this kind of disabled joy? or were you already part of the disabled community before?
No, I wasn't. And part of the thing is that this was only, let's see, about 3.5 years after my second eye went bad from age-related macular degeneration. So, it was I had not been disabled for a particularly long time. My experience becoming disabled sort of late in life, in my 60s, is different from people who have been disabled from early in life, and as well as from those who become disabled maybe in their 30s. One of the things is that people can join our community at any time, and that is something that that able-bodied people, as well as disabled people, often tend to forget. So I became disabled relatively late in life. I identified myself in my own mind as disabled rather quickly, but in terms of actually interacting with other disabled people, yes, that first parade was the first time that it had actually happened for me.
Amazing. And would you say that because again it was an acquired impairment as you got older, would you say that there was a bit of a difficulty there with coming to identify as disabled? Like you were unsure whether you could or not, or how was your journey to disability?
Actually, in a way, it's a matter of law. strangely, strange as it seems. But in the U.S., there is a legal definition of blindness as being able to only see the second line of the eye chart with ordinary eyeglasses, and that is exactly the level that my vision was at. So I said, okay, I am legally a blind person. Blind people are disabled, so I am disabled, and I will say that personally, speaking for myself now, I never felt this internalized shame that many disabled people do. To me, it was actually in a way a source of pride from the very beginning. Just a couple of years or less after I became blind, my local government provides special transportation for people over 60 or disabled. And when I requested that, they said, "Are you over 60 or disabled?" And I said, "Both." And the response was, "It sounds like you're proud of it," which which I didn't quite recognize was true at the time, but I now realize, yes, that was very true. I guess I have sort of always been proud of being different, and this is another aspect of my difference of which I'm proud.
Awesome. Awesome, Bill. And do you guys have any advice that you want from having run the parade for so many years? Do you have any advice that you might want to impart to us as we start to embark on this journey ourselves? And we're looking forward also to finding more ways to connect and celebrate your 20th with you next year. But yeah, I was specifically wondering if you have any advice that people listening might find interesting too.
Start prepping the parade early. I think that's the main thing. But what we've learned based on our experiences with the parade is that it really takes a lot of work, not just from our committee, but like interacting with local government and trying to get like actual permits and trying to go through this process of dealing. There's a lot of steps that go into putting together the parade. And so I think my main advice would be like is to start early and really start nailing things down so that, you know, when it's time for the parade to actually happen, you all could just have a good time and just celebrate and not having to, you know, do things that you know, do things like up to the last minute, and you know, just having fun. So like as long as you get to that actual step of where you're actually having the parade, yeah, it's a lot of work, but man, it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
And of course, as treasurer, I am very aware of the need to get the money coming in,
Yeah.
get it coming in as soon as possible, which often is difficult because people come in 3 days before the parade. Oh, I'd like to sponsor.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one thing we're working on figuring all that out as well. Yes. And just one other question that I wanted to ask too. One of the reasons I loved you guys and I wanted to link in with you more so than any of the other American Pride parades was that because it was in Chicago, I love seeing that you had it was more diverse. You guys have more black and brown disabled people, and also one of our themes for next year is going to be on just be ordinary disabled people and poverty and things that we have to go through on a day-to-day basis. Is there anything you'd like to talk about with that in regards to that and you know, Chicago and this being the site of the Disability Pride Parade and how you guys feel about your town and the representation there?
Well, I, I, the only thing I will say at this point is that we have always wanted to have a Spanish language representation, and it has been difficult for us to acquire. At the present time, we simply have no one who can translate our materials into Spanish, and that is unfortunate, but that's the fact.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, that's something that you know, we really need to work on, as like I've expanded and worked with other disabilities groups, is making sure that we have Spanish translation, and so that's one thing that I think it is missing. So it's unfortunate, but you know, it is a lot that you know, in terms of in terms of Chicago, there's a lot of issues. Now let me just put it like that. There are a lot of issues, and you know, people with disabilities are always at the forefront of, you know, taking action against a lot of issues, you know, such as, you know, the lack of affordable housing in the city, how we view, you know, homelessness, and how we view that currently, you know, I think one of the main issues that we've talked about is how we deal with mental health. And you know, these are, you know, we understand, like, you know, I love living in the city. It's absolutely beautiful and gorgeous, and there's a lot of work that, you know, still needs to be done. But you know, people with disabilities, what I love is that we're at the forefront of a lot of these battles, and oftentimes, you know, people try to ignore our voices, you know, when it comes to these issues. But you know, we're always, like I said, we're always there. And so, you know, that's one of the things I always, you know, am, you know, with the work that I do as an activist, on the activism side, it's like, yes, this is why I'm here, because like, yeah, we're going to shut things down. If stuff doesn't go our way, we will shut it down. There's no hesitation about that. So that's the one thing that I love about you know, the, you know, Chicago and the disabled people living in Chicago.
So that's
I, I think I might want to interject that what Justin has just said is entirely valid for the disability community as a whole. The parade as such does not get involved with that. Our mission is basically to put on the parade. There are other organizations in the disability community that are pushing these things, which of course it definitely should be done.
Exactly, but we don't
Awesome.
stay. Yeah, we don't really stay with it in the political world. Our focus is just having a good time and
Yeah.
making sure people are enjoying themselves, and that's I think that's all that matters for us.
Which is powerful in itself. Like that's a powerful thing, just as it is. That's already doing a huge amount of work. Um, Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I open it up to the floor for Q&A?
Nope.
Yep.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. It's been amazing to have you guys. Um, yeah, so we'll take questions from anyone who'd like to ask these two amazing guys some questions. Just put your hands there up on the reactions if you can. There's a reaction button to raise hand. Or you could type it in the chat.
There was a question. There was a question that I saw in the chat that I think was very interesting, but I don't know if it was still there or not.
Is this from Roisin? What is disabled joy exactly? Yes.
Yeah,
Brilliant, Roisin.
yeah,
Would either of you like to answer?
I could answer that because that's something that we have that I have talked about with a lot of of my friends in the community. And so oftentimes this we don't really in the community talk about what brings us joy and what makes us makes us happy. Oftentimes oftentimes like we're talking about like the work that we do, or like how hard how hard the work that we do is, and how hard that we do how hard activism is in the city. And we were kind of just talking with just amongst a group of us that's just like, what makes us happy? What brings you joy in this world that sometimes is often chaotic? And that's what it is. It's like it's just really celebrating who we are as disabled people. Even if it's something celebrating our success, highlighting our success, and really just like being proud of whoever is doing work in the disability community, what they're doing, and just highlighting what they do. And so for me, I could answer this question. What brings me disabled joy is the work that I do, as an artist. I am a filmmaker and a photographer, and a lot of my photography work has been focused on like highlighting, inaccessibility, in the city. And what brings me joy is just like seeing the responses that I've gotten from a lot of people, regarding that. Because like if if you see my photos, they're oftentimes viewed as ordinary until I actually share the story of how I got like my photography and the many adventures that I've taken to get to take photos. And that's something that really brings me joy. And in turn, from just hearing from other folks in the community, brings them joy as well.
Thank you, Justin. That was beautiful. And it's making me think we should have just had you on at some point to just talk about your photos. Maybe sometime if you'd like to do that. I'd love to see that and how you highlight accessibility. That's really cool. Thank you, Justin. And before we go to the other question, I just wanted to ask Justin and Bill, are you going to be streaming your parade? Is there any way for the participants here to be able to join in, or is it going to be just physical? I
I'm
think you're
passing
muted
it.
there, Justin.
Yeah. Yes, I'm passing the question to Justin, who is our tech person, among other things.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, it will not be streaming this year. We normally would have a group called Can TV who would like record, live from the parade, and would just put a video together, just highlighting, all the different groups. But there will be actually some media, local media, that will be at the parade this weekend, and I can actually send you the link to those, to those, and yeah, and I can also send you an interview I just did for the local affiliates here talking about the parade. So yeah, I could, yeah. Unfortunately, we won't be streaming it, but yes, there's a lot of media that will be discussing the parade.
Awesome. Yes, please do share the links with us, and your photography too. And if you are able to put that in the chat, that'd be great. But if not, we'll share it on social media afterwards. And we have 2 more questions here from Leo from Physical Impairment Ireland. And just to say that Physical Impairment Ireland did try to do a Disability Pride Parade a year or 2 back. And so we're going to link in and do it together as well as a part of a big coalition for the parade. So go ahead, Leo.
Hi, folks. Good evening from Ireland. Good afternoon to our friends in Chicago. It's been absolutely a pleasure listening to you. Joy and disability in Ireland are not things that go hand in hand, but you guys are absolutely infectious. So hopefully, and I don't mean that in the medical sense either, just in case you're wondering, how many people would you expect at your forthcoming parade, Justin and Bill? How many? Just a rough figure, please.
Wow. Well, so that's a very good question. And depending on the years, we currently have, at the moment, we have 36 groups that are going to be marching in this year's parade, which is amazing given the fact that we haven't done a parade in a couple of years, and we just had one group. We had just one group join, one that registered to march in the parade just a couple hours ago. So we're still we still get a lot of different groups coming in, and so it really just depends. So on average, for regular parades, on average, we get close to like 60 to 70 groups from different organizations, not just here in Chicago, but across our state and across our country, who like march in the parade. And it's just like it's just so amazing seeing so many different groups. So also, when I went to my first Disability Pride Parade, I believe it was the time that Senator Harkin was our Grand Marshal. Is that correct, Bill?
I couldn't say for sure, but it sounds plausible.
Yeah, it was around like the anniversary of the it was the 25th, I believe, the 25th anniversary. Yes, it was the 25th anniversary of the ADA, and we had close to 100 and over 100 groups just wanting to be a part of that special occasion. And so over the years, we just get a lot of like really cool people, cool organizations who want to support and just want to march in a parade, because who loves to march in a parade, man? I enjoy marching in a parade, dude. I'll take it.
Yep.
That's brilliant.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
Yes.
Power to the people.
Yes.
Power to the people.
Yes, sir. That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Bill?
I have always tended to estimate in order to get a number for warm bodies. I have tended to estimate about 15 people per group. Justin, does that sound right to you?
Yes, that sounds right. They're either marching in the parade or they have like their own float. Most of the times, they have these really big creative floats marching in the parade. At one point, we had, I believe, I think we had like a huge bus, just like marching the parade, and so like we get all sorts of different groups just wanting to march in the parade, and so like we happily accept them, and we want to we just make sure that they are safe and have a good time. So that's why I enjoy like being a part of of this group. Is just like, yeah, seeing everybody's joy and happiness being being in the parade.
Awesome.
Guys,
Thanks,
that's
Bill.
brilliant. Thank you so much, and respect to you, huge respect. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I think our next question is from Jules there.
Hi there, if you can hear me. Well, thanks so much. That was a really interesting, like, I really love to hear from you guys, or like really interesting presentation, and the people in Chicago, like really fascinating to hear from you. I just had a question, like similar to the question that Mariam asked towards the end about tips or advice that you had, but like maybe just to be more specific. I was wondering if you could say some of the things, like give some of your experience, and like specifically, I guess, regarding conflict, like just how you deal with that. Because I think that's probably like loads of groups, all different kinds of groups have this, and I just would be curious how you deal with it. Like, so for example, like if you could maybe talk about like if you've ever had times when one within your disability pride organizing group, like one group of people want to do one thing and the others want to do the other way, like do something else, and they're kind of digging in their heels. I was wondering like how you would deal with that. I also wanted to ask, like, I mean, just in a similar kind of way, if you have found, like, if you're giving advice to other groups who are starting out, like, what groups would you have found are good to work with, and what ones are like kind of not worth your time, kind of a thing. And maybe like if I could just add in at the end as well, like maybe in a similar way as well, or maybe it's more theoretical, but like for disabled people overall, it seems like if you wanted to like you're trying to create like disabled pride, like for all disabled people, but disabled people come in many different kinds of shapes and forms and every other kind of way. And it's like so if people wanted to, like, they could look at their different, like, they all have differences, and if you wanted to, you could like you could focus on your differences, and that could become like a source of disagreement or something like that. Like, I think was it Bill was saying himself earlier that, like, you became blind or disabled in your 60s, whereas that was different from a person who would have become blind or disabled in their 30s, which would have been different again from a person who was born that way. And so if you wanted to, people within that could be, people could be saying, oh, I'm more disabled than you, I need to have more, that could be a source of conflict, but also you want to kind of bring everyone together under the same shared purpose. So I was just wondering if you had any thoughts of any of that. Like, that would just be very interesting if you could comment on it. And thanks a lot.
Yeah, we have never actually had that problem. Perhaps in part because we are focused on putting on the parade, and so the divisions, the potential divisions within the disability community really don't come up. I remember one instance where there seemed to be a sort of power struggle, but that essentially that ended up with one of the people leaving the group, and that's essentially, if there's disagreement, we talk about it, and we generally reach a consensus, and if the people who maybe don't think that's the best way will say, well, okay, that's the way it's going to be, and we'll go along and help the parade. It has never been a serious problem for us.
Yeah, and yeah, to build sentiments is like, yeah, we as during our meetings, yes, we do have arguments, but overall, we talk it out, and we come to the consensus, because it's not about us. Like, it's about putting together the Disability Pride Parade. And so, sometimes, hey, yeah, we have disagreements, but we have to leave that to the side when we're putting together a parade that's like featuring so many different disability organizations. And so, yeah, it's just like we're in this. We have this one goal, and I think everybody, whether you're in a disability organization, and y'all might have, and those organizations might have disagreements between themselves, but when the day of the parade happens, that's pushed to the side, because it's not about y'all. It's about putting on the parade and making sure that everybody is having a good time, because that's all that matters.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's the disabled people themselves. Absolutely, Justin and Bill. Oh, actually, we have a really great question here in the chat from Neve. She says, "Hi guys, I am personally struggling with anger when confronting issues of ableism, and I wonder if there is a place for anger and activism. Can the anger and pride exist together?" I could go on about this. This is a brilliant question, but I want to give this over to Justin and Bill to answer first.
The answer to that is yes, they do. They both go hand in hand. Based off my experience of being a disability activist and really learning from other folks in the community. Sometimes that anger does build coalition. Sometimes when everybody is angry about a specific issue that is affecting people within the disability community, that does create a sense of anger, and that creates the sort of like, hey, we have to fight back. We're all in agreement that this is a serious issue, and it's time for us to fight back. And so, yes, that those two go hand in hand, and sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes when you're confronted with a lot of issues that affect your community, then yeah, combating that with anger, has been helpful. And yeah, just always remember that they do go hand in hand. So yes, that it definitely does.
My take is a little different, and perhaps not entirely typical, because I'm 85 years old. I have seen change and change and change and change over my lifetime. I expect that change will come, not always smoothly, but it will come, and that means that I am more focused on doing what I can to create change, rather than being angry at the way things are.
Right. Yeah, and that's also that, and Bill's sentiment also works too, and that's the one thing that we learned, in our communities. Like, sometimes, yes, we're going to continue to work on making change in the community, and sometimes, our anger needs to be focused on making change. And so, both sentiments can actually be true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with both of you. And what I think of when I hear that is, do you know the Spike Lee movie Do the Right Thing? And the guy has love on one set of his knuckles and hate on the other. And it's like the constant battle in life between love and hate. And there's a place for both in that movie and in life. Just like I think it relates to Malcolm X and and Martin Luther King. You know, there's the love, but then there's also the anger, and they coexist, and they're both needed. You can't, anger is just energy, and so is love. So it's one can transform to the other. Anger needs a place for expression, and when it gets that place for expression, it can be transformed into something beautiful like the parade. And just like you, Bill, we focus on what we can create, what beauty we can create as a result of the pain or the struggles or the anger that we've had to fight. We can, you know, use that as the impetus and love as a result, hopefully. So that's what I think anyway. But yeah, it's a constant push and pull. Oh, is there another question? Oh no, that's a smiley face from me who answered that question. Do we have any other questions from anyone? I think that's it. This was a beautiful evening. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for sharing that with us. And yeah, we'd love to have you back anytime. Yes, and we hope, I know we have to finalize this, but are we going to be able to participate in your open mic on Saturday?
I think so. Like, see, that's not really like my area of, like, with the parade. I think we do have an open mic. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be streamed, but we're going to have like a few like local artists here, really just like sharing some music and hopefully some poetry. And yeah, it's like, can I quickly share our post parade festivities?
Yes, please do.
And so so normally like our post parade festivities like take place after the parade, and we have like a lot of like awesome performers. We had one disability group of dancers from North Dakota who did a dance for us, and we've had like some great disabled singers. And yeah, it's just like, oh my goodness, it's like just like really fun times. It's just like people like, yeah, just listening to some really cool people and some cool disabled artists, and yeah, ultimately just having fun. So yeah, it's really a highlight. It's like the parade and the post parade festivities, and yeah, hopefully, when we are like, next year, we can have a full like open mic. That we actually have an open mic event that we do like normally the day before the parade. We weren't able to do it this year, but we're gonna set it, have it for the post parade festivities. But yeah, we normally have an open mic like the day before. So, if you guys are able to like, come through next year, and you might be a part of the open mic, and we might be able to stream it for everyone to see.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And yeah, no, there's just some comments saying thank you from the audience as well. Yeah, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for your time, and oh my God, best of luck with the parade in 2 days' time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you. Thank you so much for for having us.
Thank you, guys, and we're looking forward to connecting much more in the future.